Imagine your child's laughter echoing through a sunny playground, then suddenly that joy turns to fear as they return home with mysterious scrapes and bruises. What if danger was lurking just beneath their feet, hidden from view yet threatening everything you hold dear, especially if it was your own child or a close relative playing in that very playground, unaware that something dangerous waited beneath the slides and swings? This story takes us back to 2017, unfolding across several neighborhoods in British Columbia, Surrey, Vancouver, Burnaby, Port Coquitlam, and North Vancouver. Places where families thrived on routine, where children raced across jungle gyms and schoolyards, and laughter echoed through spaces built around trust, safety, and the comforting illusion of control. Then something began to disturb that normalcy. It started subtly, with scrapes and bruises appearing in strange patterns. Kids returned from daycare, school, and public playgrounds with small but unusual injuries, marks on knees and legs that didn't quite match the usual explanations. Parents dismissed them at first as harmless insect bites, minor tumbles, or splinters from rough wood, but something didn't add up. Then, used syringes began to appear, first sporadically, then with unsettling frequency, hidden beneath slides, tucked into sandbox corners, wedged under benches, objects of silent menace in spaces meant for joy. At first, the discoveries were disturbing, but seemed explainable, attributed to the city's struggles with increasing drug use. Some believed it was an unfortunate consequence of the opioid crisis, needles left behind accidentally in moments of desperation. But that theory began to unravel as reports multiplied and the children affected grew younger. One alarming incident involved a child being pricked by a syringe during a daycare field trip in Port Coquitlam, prompting emergency medical treatment and a formal investigation. Around the same time, parents in North and West Vancouver discovered needles alarmingly close to school playgrounds, near swings and climbing frames. The randomness gave way to pattern. These weren't isolated cases. They were connected by geography and by the fact that they occurred where children gathered. As public awareness grew, fear spread swiftly. Authorities responded. Municipal workers were deployed to conduct daily safety sweeps of public parks and play areas, combing through sand, grass, and wood chips to locate and remove hazardous items. Police and public health officials collaborated to assess the potential risks. The syringes were confirmed as used, but whether they contained bloodborne pathogens, drug residue, or any other contaminants was never officially disclosed. That silence only increased anxiety. Residents asked questions. Was this the unavoidable consequence of a worsening public health crisis, or was there something more sinister happening? Could someone be intentionally planting syringes in playgrounds and schoolyards? If so, who would target children? And why? Was this reckless negligence or deliberate cruelty? No clear answers emerged. Some schools issued written warnings to parents. Local news outlets aired urgent public alerts. City council meetings were flooded with concerned families demanding action, accountability, and reassurance. Surveillance cameras were reportedly installed at high-risk locations, aimed at capturing nighttime activity. Still, no suspects were identified, no footage led to arrests, no explanations were provided, just silence, and that silence became its own form of terror. Parents were left to speculate, swinging between fear, rage, and helplessness. The lack of information began to feel like an answer in itself. Whatever was happening, no one could or would stop it. The playgrounds were cleaned, but the dread lingered. Routine inspections continued, but now they carried a ritualistic weight. Online community forums filled with unease. Some families began avoiding certain parks altogether. The fear wasn't simply the presence of danger, it was the absence of explanation. If addiction was to blame, why weren't there more safeguards or support systems? If the syringes were deliberately placed, why hadn't anyone been held responsible? And if this was truly random, why did it consistently happen in spaces reserved for children? The story faded from headlines, but not from memory. As weeks turned into months with no resolution, no charges, and no definitive cause, the events took on a ghostly quality. Something real had happened, something disturbing and unresolved, and no one could say who was behind it or whether it might happen again. It became the kind of story that haunts communities long after the playgrounds are cleared and the news cameras leave. A story not just about danger, but about uncertainty. Not just about fear, but about what happens when fear is met with silence.